Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. Today we're going to talk about the heart of having a flexible homeschool plan. I'm going to show you how to schedule every subject as far as in advance as you want to, up to an entire year if you want to plan that far in advance. Then in the next part of the series, I'm going to show you how you can use that schedule no matter what happens. Changes, interruptions, unexpected challenges, doesn't matter. Your schedule will still work for you. Now, I should warn you, this method can be time consuming. There's just no way around it. But once it's done, it'll save you many hours throughout the year. So let's get started and I'll show you how this works. I'll be using this printable. It's a resource schedule which you can download and print for free from Life in the Nerddom. You can also use a blank sheet of paper or whatever you're comfortable with. You don't have to use this printable. I'm just providing it for you for your convenience. Okay, so the first subject that we're going to look at is handwriting because it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, not a lot of extra stuff to write on the page. The first thing that we look at is the top part. You can see that I've written in that this is a resource schedule for handwriting 6. And then I circled the days of the week that we cover this subject. For this one, we do Monday through Friday, every single day. And then here, I write down about how long I think it's going to take. 15 to 30 minutes because we use the Good and the Beautiful for handwriting. And they have these lovely handwriting pages. But then some of their pages have drawings on them. And some of the drawings are more intense, as you can see here. So there's no way that my daughter can finish this in 15 minutes. So I put 15 to 30 minutes for the days that she has those involved drawings to complete. So we circled the days. We have the amount of time that we think will be required for each lesson. And this is just an approximation. You may have to change this as you go. It's just there to give you an idea of how much time you're going to be spending on that subject so that when you put these subjects together into your days, you have a nice time picture of how long everything is going to take you. Okay. For handwriting, we complete 1 page per day. So on each line of this resource schedule, I've written a page number. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. Like I said, very straightforward. Each line of the resource schedule is there for each lesson. Each line is 1 lesson. This is very important to understand. The lines do not equal days. In other words, this is not Monday, this is not Tuesday, this is not Wednesday. There's no day assignment for any of these lines. It's just a lesson. So whatever you want to complete in this subject for 1 lesson is what you write on each line. Excuse me. Now we'll move on to language arts, which is a bit more detailed than handwriting was. So I can show you what I mean by writing using each line for a lesson and writing everything you want to do for that lesson on that line. We use the Good and Beautiful for language arts, and the curriculum is pretty much open and go, but I still like to write all the lessons out on the resource schedule because then I know exactly what my daughter is supposed to complete each day. She works on this independently for the most part, so it's nice for me to have a condensed list of what she's doing rather than having to flip through the lesson every day. So we'll begin with lesson 1. And as you can see here, I can glance over this lesson and see what she needs to complete at the check boxes. So it's pretty straightforward, at least for this lesson. For this one, I can see that she has to read this section herself. And then down here, she has to complete a color chart with her pastels. And then she has to, let's see, looks like she draws a sketch of 2 butterflies. So on her lesson, or on my resource schedule, I've written lesson 1, read, pastel color chart, 2 butterflies, sketch. Now, she also has to work with grammar and geography cards daily. So I'll write grammar cards for today, and tomorrow we'll cover the geography. And she also has to read at least 15 minutes from the book of her choice. So I have read literature at least 15 minutes. And that is all that she has to do in one day. So moving on to lesson 2. I see here that I'm going to be dictating some sentences to her, and then she's going to be reading some vocabulary words to me. So you'll notice on the resource schedule, I've written some things in blue. That's because these are the things that I know I will have to be involved in. So when I go to make out our daily plan, this catches my attention and knows I need to be available for her during her language arts lesson, and so that she can complete these 2 parts. So I've written lesson 2, sentence dictation and vocabulary words are in blue. That's my part. And then she'll complete lesson 2. Now I've written a note here that says includes diagramming because she sometimes needs some help with sentence diagramming. So having that note there just reminds me that I'm going to have to be available for her while she's completing language arts that day. She will also have geography cards practice and read her literature for at least 15 minutes. Okay, moving on to lesson 3. Lesson 2 is pretty long. Okay, lesson 3, again, I will be dictating sentences to her and she will be reading vocabulary words to me. So on her lesson plan, or on the resource schedule, I've written again sentence dictation and vocabulary words. Then she'll complete lesson 3 on her own. She'll also study her grammar cards and read her literature for at least 15 minutes. Then we move to lesson 4. I love this curriculum. It's so beautiful. Okay, lesson 4, pretty much the same thing. We have dictation, we have vocabulary words, and then she reads and completes several pages on her own. So again, I've written sentence dictation and vocabulary words in blue because I have to be involved in that. And then she'll complete lesson 4 on her own. She'll study her geography cards and read literature at least 15 minutes. And then for lesson 5, same thing. She'll do sentence dictation, vocabulary words, complete lesson 5. And I've written a note here that it includes writing 2 paragraphs. Now, my daughter detests writing. So I made a note here that I need to double check with her and hold her accountable for this part. Otherwise, she might skip it and hope that I don't notice it, which she is prone to do from time to time. So I've written this note here so that I can ask her, did you do your 2 paragraphs? Then she has her grammar cards and reading her literature for at least 15 minutes. Now, throughout all of these lessons, there have been some extras that she needs for the lessons, such as chalk pastels and tracing paper, which she needed in lesson 1 to do her chalk pastels color chart and her sketch of the 2 butterflies. So what I do is, as we go along, I make a list of supplies that we need. And I just keep everything on a supply list. Let me move this out of the way. And just keep a running list. Like here, I've got timer. We need a timer for something. I don't remember what. Highlighters, tracing paper, chalk pastels, kneaded eraser, art tape. I have a question mark here because I have no idea what art tape is. I'm going to have to do some research on that one. Watercolor paper, charcoal pencil, blending stumps, and 4x6 index card box. Now, most of this stuff is from our language arts, and which is probably where I got the timer from. Good and Beautiful makes it very easy to keep up with my supplies list because they give you a nice little additional items needed. And there it is, a timer. Highlighter, tracing paper, everything that we need for this course all the way through is right here. So I just transferred this list over to my supplies list, and then I'll keep adding things to it as we go along. Now, what about scheduling a resource that isn't as straightforward as handwriting, where we complete a page a day, or language arts, where everything's kind of laid out for you? One of the things that we are using this year is the Good and Beautiful Creative Writing Notebook, which this is what that looks like. As I mentioned before, my daughter is not terribly fond of writing, so I thought this would be a gentle way to keep her practicing without bogging her down with a lot of research. Now, for this subject, I don't assign specific pages to specific days because the book doesn't really go in any kind of order. Plus, I don't want her to detest writing any more than absolutely necessary. I want her to learn to love it if at all possible. So I don't assign things to specific days because she might not feel like writing that day, and then it becomes a burden and a chore to her, and I don't really want that. Instead, I ask her to complete 1 hour of work in this book each week, and she can do it all in one day, or she can spread it out over the week, however she wants to do it. And this also allows her to practice some time management skills and schedule her own work, which is something that she continues to work on as she gets into the higher grades. So on this resource schedule for this subject, I've written that it's for creative writing. And here I've marked out the days of the week, and I've just written varies because it's not assigned. We don't really do it any day of the week. She just knows that she has to get it done. So we have 60 minutes per week. And then each line of the resource schedule, I've just written 1 hour of work because that's the lesson that she has to get done that week. At the end of the week, I'll go back and I'll write down the pages that she completed during that week. Now, at the beginning of the year, when I fill this out, I can only write 1 hour of work because, like I said, I don't assign the pages. So I have to go back at the end of the week and write that in. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Now, I've only written 6 weeks down here because when we get to 6 weeks, I want to evaluate her work and the curriculum to make sure that she likes it, to make sure that everything is going like I think it should, and she's doing her work well. All right, the last thing that I'd like to show you is a curriculum that we'll be using during our treasure time. It's called To Every Nation. It's written by Kim Sorgas. I'm sorry if I got that name wrong. I really don't know how to pronounce it. We'll use this to cover missionary study, world geography, and character. So, when I wrote out the resource schedule for this subject, I have split each lesson into several days, and we'll cover it 3 days a week during our treasure time. That's what the TT here is for. So, the first thing that we'll do, let's just look at one of the chapters here. The first thing we do is we read the text, and then we will go to Amazon and watch the Torchlighter series video on this missionary, or this person, and then we'll complete the notebook page, which is here. Next, we'll look at the region where she served, which in this case was China. Now, rather than just having them fill out this notebooking page, I have them do activities in a curriculum called Let's Go Geography, which I got from the Build Your Bundle sale this year. In it, there are links to lots of really cool stuff, like listening to the national anthem, watching tours of China. There's a video to a Chinese New Year parade, lots of photos, different places, crafts, things like that. So I have the kids spend some time exploring and learning together with that curriculum, and then I have them come back and fill out the notebooking page. The last thing that we look at is the character trait that's taught in connection with this missionary, which is virtue. We complete this page together so that we have time to discuss all the little parts of it as we go. Sometimes I also have a read aloud book that goes along with either the missionary or the area. For this particular chapter, you can see I've written here that we will read aloud Young Fu of the Upper Yangtze. I can't pronounce that either. So I've got that written here so that I know that we need to cover that. So on each line, I've written the part of the lesson that I want to complete on a day. And you can see we do this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So the first part of the lesson, we'll read and watch the video and complete the notebook page. And then we'll cover Let's Go Geography China and complete the notebooking page. And then we'll cover the character virtue and complete that notebooking page as well. All throughout that, we'll be doing the read aloud. Now, I keep track of the books that I need to get from the library on another printable, the library resource needs list. And you can see I have a couple of books here that I've written down already for, which are for To Every Nation. And then I have some here that I've written down for science already. So that's it. That's how I schedule several different types of resources. Some of them are simple, some of them are more complex. But obviously, unless you are using these same resources, your schedules are going to look different. But hopefully seeing how I work out our lessons will help make your scheduling a little bit easier. As I said, this resource schedule is a free printable that you can get from lifeinthenerddom.com. So feel free to go and print these out and use them to schedule out the lessons for your subjects. Till next time, happy scheduling.